Hey friends, Janky here, and welcome back to the lab. Today, we are scoping out a mind-bending, time-twisting, spacefaring, comedy-laden, possibly nostalgia-inducing game known as A Hat in Time. Haven't heard of it yet? Well, don't worry. You will have heard of it once you have already completed the video you are currently watching. Having fun and a little confused? Great! You're practically playing this game already. Of course, before we get properly started, let's pull out the experimental bias board and let me cover my own bias so you know what to make of what I'm telling you. First off, I did buy this game myself. I don't quite yet have the guff to request a review key for this one, plus it was kind of only vaguely on my radar leading up to its release. Secondly, I've played about 8 hours so far, and in that time gotten roughly 4 worlds deep, and of those 4, completed the first 2 worlds, sans a mission that requires a thing that I don't have yet. And thirdly, I don't have a thirdly. So, with that bias in mind, let's put away the bias board and get talking about this game. So what is A Hat in Time? Well, excellent question. To be honest, I'm still not 100% on the answer. But as far as I can tell, A Hat in Time is the story of a young girl's space adventure on her way home in a ship powered by time-bending hourglasses, when she is strong-armed by the Mafia through an unlikely airlockless hatch in the front of the ship, which, when broken by the improbable mobster in space, creates enough of a vacuum to suck Mafia, girl, hats, and vault full of timepieces right out the window. The player takes the time-honored task of recollecting our missing fuel while meeting, socializing, and making frenemies with the population of a planet suddenly dealing with magical... or science-y? I don't know, it's not really made clear. Objects capable of tearing rifts in the fabric of space and time itself. It's a whirlwind of adventure, to be sure. So if that's just the story, I hear you ask, what's the actual game like? To answer this, I offer an example and an analogy. You may recall in recent gaming history that there was an incredibly highly anticipated 3D collectathon platformer known as Yooka-Laylee. Developed by the same team behind rare games like Banjo-Kazooie, fans of classic N64 titles were chomping at the bit to play it. However, when the game released, it was met with a lukewarm response. People complained about the fixed camera, certain game controls or mechanics, and the general nature of the platforming. To be fair, having played Yooka-Laylee myself, I would argue the fans got exactly what they said they wanted, an N64 3D platformer. But really, what they wanted was a nostalgic rose-colored memory of what N64 platformers were. Something with all the things they think they remembered about those games while missing the frustrating bits their minds have since glossed over. This was something the devs behind Shovel Knight understood. While many praised the game for bringing back 2D side-scrolling platforming, it doesn't really play like an old-school platformer. Instead, they took inspiration from the best bits of those games, improved on those frustrating parts, and made an updated version that faded memory told us was basically the same thing. So what does this have to do with A Hat in Time? In the same way that Shovel Knight plays on the nostalgic view of what 2D platformers were, A Hat in Time plays on all the things that made 3D platformers fun while toning down the bits that frustrated the ever-loving crap out of us. Let me explain. First and foremost, this game is a collectathon that's not actually a collectathon. Yes, there is a lot to collect, but no, it's not really a chore to do it. For example, Rift tokens are collectibles scattered around the worlds that can be exchanged for recolors and reskins for hats and outfits in the hub world. However, these customizations can also be earned through completing certain missions in the game. Yarn, which is used to create the hats that give you superpowers, can be found all over as well. When constructing a new hat, you need one piece of specialty yarn to give the hat its powers, and then a certain amount of other yarn. The rest of the required yarn can be from any other type, which is easily collected through exploration. Up until I stopped playing to write this script, I almost always had enough material to make a new hat immediately after I picked up a new kind of yarn. Relics, another collectible, are a little different in that collecting a set of them will open up a new area to explore and pick up a timepiece in, and so are necessary to 100% the game. However, there's a badge you get fairly early on that gives you a map right to them. Really, when giving the game a hard look, the only thing that matters for completion, and the only thing that's tricky to collect, are the timepieces themselves, which is the entire point of playing the game, so it's not really a chore. Also, you may have heard me mention badges a moment ago and asked yourself, what's that about? Well, badges are items purchased from this game's glitchy version of the Happy Mask Salesman and have a variety of effects that allow players to tailor the gameplay to themselves. My 3 personal favorites are the badge that prevents fatal falls from any height, the badge that attracts nearby collectibles, and the badge that prevents you from bouncing off walls you dive into. Literally the 3 things I find most annoying about 3D platformers, cured within the first 2 worlds of the game by buying badges. Are you concerned you won't have enough money for these goodies? It's literally everywhere. It also resets every time you enter a chapter, so quickly building up a small fortune to spend on badges is no hassle at all. Now, I will say you can only have so many badges equipped at a time, but the salesman also occasionally sells pins, which give you additional badge slots. So convenient! And the gameplay customization doesn't stop there. In the menus, you can toggle options like assisted input. Remember all those games that required perfect timing for all those button presses? Well, this game can hold inputs you press too soon and then send them off at just the right time. Not to mention advanced graphic settings, a color blindness option, a built-in speedrun timer, and access to the developer console. This game is built to be exactly the experience you want it to be. Finally, and most importantly, at least in my opinion, this game has exploration. Now, this is in varying degrees. Some levels do tend to be more linear because of the nature of the gameplay, but you are free to roam and try to tackle obstacles how you please. And you get a surprising amount of variety in these chapters as well. Some levels are about sneaking, others about free roaming, still others require certain tasks to be completed. Most recently, I've encountered a haunted house, which, in a very Little Nightmare-style twist, requires you to solve puzzles while avoiding a giant enemy you can do literally nothing about because you signed a contract with a demon ghost that apparently requires you to not use your amazing hat skills to help you. However, most of the time you are aided in this by your trusty collection of hats, which, as previously mentioned, give you new powerful skills. And by using these skills to explore, you get more yarn to make new hats when the time comes. It's a delightful cycle. Sprinkled on top of this is a cast of charming characters, including a town entirely of mafia men that speak in the collective third person, an excitable Scottish train conducting owl, Little Red Riding Hood with a villain mustache, and a fairly unpleasant and unhinged evil spirit who needs someone to do his chores. I will say I did run into the occasional issue with loading times or a glitch in the game that took a few minutes to work itself through, but by and large this game has been a great, fast-paced experience I would recommend to fans of 3D platformers. With that in mind, let's pull out the experimental scale and give this game the highest rating of smashing success. That's all I got for this video, friends. I'm gonna go play more Hat in Time, so until the next time, this is Janky Shenanigans, signing out.